Over 2/3 of women are already deficient in the key minerals and nutrients that we need. I'm so confused about why more people are not talking about this. Guess what birth control depletes? Let's get into some solutions, because you know that is what I love to talk about. Hey you all, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. My name is Takia. If you're new here, I'm at the beach. I'm in Da Nang, Vietnam. I felt like this is the perfect scenery to talk about such a controversial topic. This video is about birth control and the effect that it has on our reproductive system as women. Unfortunately, so many women, even teens, young girls, are put on birth control to regulate their menstrual cycles, to even help with symptoms of PCOS, fibroids, cysts, and difficult periods. This video is not to demonize birth control at all, or to say that we should not be using contraception. This video is filled with the facts, the statistics, and the reasons why birth control may not be the best option for you. Y'all know I don't play. I came with my notes. Hormonal birth control contains synthetic hormones like estrogen or estradiol and progestin. The goal of birth control is to prevent pregnancy by preventing ovulation. And this is our natural cycle that we go through as women if we're having a normal menstrual cycle. Birth control also prevents sperm from getting to the cervix by thickening the cervix mucus and essentially making it almost impossible for the sperm to get through. And it does that with synthetic hormones, which override the endocrine system by interfering with the pituitary, the hypothalamus, and the ovaries. These synthetic hormones stop the release of FSH and LH, which is follicular stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. That is going to prevent ovulation from occurring monthly. The most shocking thing that I found in my research was the fact that hormonal birth control and non-hormonal birth control depletes the nutrients necessary for our reproductive system to not only heal, but to operate in a functional way. Now, over 2/3 of women are already deficient in the key minerals and nutrients that we need already. So to add insult to injury, birth control is depleting these essential minerals and nutrients. So let's get into a few. The number one mineral, this is a trace mineral, that is necessary for the womb and the reproductive system to operate normally is zinc. Guess what birth control depletes? Zinc. Zinc supports fertility, insulin management. So if you have insulin resistance and you're dealing with PCOS, zinc is essential for you. Inflammation, androgen reduction, immunity, infections, bacteria vaginosis, yeast infections, endometriosis, fibroids, skin issues, collagen formation, and mood regulation because of serotonin. So it's going to help with anxiety and depression. So just imagine if you are deficient in zinc and then you're taking birth control, this is going to severely affect your ability to heal and to remain in a balanced state. Next is magnesium. We hear so much about magnesium for women's health, specifically its role in maintaining strong bones and a healthy, sound mind, so brain health and nerve function. Magnesium helps to regulate estrogen, and we know with estrogen dominance or an excess of estrogen, that is going to feed these womb diseases. We already know this. Magnesium is also essential for energy. So if you're really fatigued, magnesium is very helpful for you. It helps, like I said, with nerves and your muscle functioning. It helps with blood pressure and blood health, your brain, migraines and headaches that a lot of women experience on the pill and on birth control. It helps with insomnia and bone density, like I said. So this is really supportive if you are going into perimenopause or menopause and you have issues with osteoporosis. Now, folate, which is B9, this one is also depleted by birth control. Now, this is supportive for healthy DNA, blood cell production, our cardiovascular health. B12 is also depleted, and that is essential for detoxification, for our blood health, formulating red blood cells, for the nervous system, for our energy, to activate the folate that is also depleted, for iron deficiency, so for anemia and fatigue. Vitamin A, C, and E, supportive for healthy vision, immunity, skin health, your reproductive health. Antioxidant boost for cell damage, for immunity, for iron absorption, for collagen formation, and your adrenal health. These also protect our cells, including our reproductive tissues, our skin, and this is supportive again for the immunity. Selenium is another key mineral that is also depleted by birth control. Selenium's role is to reduce inflammation in the body. Fibroids, cysts, PCOS, endometriosis, the lesions, think about inflammation. Those are just sources of inflammation. Selenium is necessary for that. It also is necessary for our immune system, for the functioning of our thyroid gland. You know how essential that is for us as women, for fertility, and it also helps to reduce our risk of cancer. Calcium and phosphorus are also essential. Calcium helps with our bone, our teeth, and the health of our nerves and our muscles. Calcium is essential for blood clotting and our hormonal system. Phosphorus is also supportive for our bones and our teeth, especially when we think about the structure. Phosphorus is also essential for energy, and it helps with keeping the alkalinity levels in the body. You know that disease cannot survive or thrive, or even parasites, in an alkaline body. They need to be in acidic state. So phosphorus maintains that. Phosphorus is in every single healthy cell in our body, so it is essential. If you have followed along on any of my videos, my womb wellness videos, I have an entire playlist, by the way. You can click on the cards to watch those videos. We go in deep about ovarian cysts because I healed my own left ovary from hemorrhagic ovarian cysts. So you might wonder, now why is birth control depleting all of these essential minerals? What's happening with birth control is it is not replacing our natural hormones. It is suppressing our endocrine system, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus, the ovaries, and these are responsible for sending hormones to different areas in the body and activating ovulation and the natural ebbs and flow of our hormones throughout the 28-day cycle. So our body naturally does what it needs to do. If you are in a situation where your endocrine system and your nervous system and your reproductive system are not operating normally, it is because it is signaling to you that there is something deeper to address. The body gives us these symptoms as signals, as feedback to say, hey, you need to pay attention to this. I talk about this all the time, but it is so true. The body is extremely intelligent and intuitive. So it is going to create a disease in order for you to realize that there's something off balance that needs your attention. So just think about what this can be doing if you already have issues with getting your proper nutrients through your food. And by the way, supplements are not enough, because how many people actually remember to take their vitamins and minerals every single day? There's so much room for error when it comes to this. I'm so confused about why more people are not talking about this, and maybe they are and I haven't seen it, or their information is being suppressed, because when I spoke about birth control and its effects on women's and womb health, so many people came to attack what they thought I was insinuating. I realized that critical thinking is almost non-existent when it comes to people who solely rely on outward authority. Doctors, the government, the healthcare system. So instead of people using their own thoughts and their own mind, they just regurgitate what has been fed to them. All I'm saying is that we should be asking more questions and better questions. My favorite questions are why and how. Why did this happen to me? How do I fix it? That is what I asked my OBGYN in 2017 when we did the ultrasound and I could see my left ovary and the follicles that had been inflamed and the cysts that were there. I felt so responsible for the state that my body was in, and instead of rely on the doctor, which I wanted to, trust me, I wanted to, and they told me, get on birth control. That is the only proven way to not make these follicles turn into cysts, because it stops ovulation altogether. So it stops the egg being released altogether. I challenged them and I said, but what about lifestyle? What about food? What about stress? What about environmental factors? What I was told is there's not enough proof that lifestyle has a big enough impact on ovarian cysts or these womb diseases. I knew deep down that that was not true. And I also knew that based on how sensitive my body is and how I am, I knew that if I got on birth control, I would probably become infertile. And so I said, I'm going to figure out how to heal myself. And so I encourage you to ask these questions. Why and how? The next thing that I found extremely alarming is that birth control can delay and complicate underlying issues. So say you go to your OBGYN because you are having issues with endometriosis or fibroids, and your painful periods, heavy debilitating cramps, and bleeding is too much for you to handle. So you go to be put on hormonal birth control so that it helps with your symptoms. It is suppressing the endocrine system. So the issue has not been resolved. So birth control is being used as a temporary fix, as a band-aid, instead of healing the issue. I find it so shocking, and I got extremely emotional when I was doing this research and seeing the steps that are taken in order for women to just have a more easeful time. Unfortunately, these are not solutions. What I found so interesting with the women who have talked about the issues that they experienced once they got off of birth control is that they said that is when they found out that they had these huge fibroids and polyps and cysts. It was only after they got off birth control, because the symptoms had been masked however many years they were on it. And at that point, it was so progressed that they had these large growths. Now, if you're from America, you will remember this acne product called Proactive. It was an entire brand. It was all over the place. It was marketed by celebrities. And they were saying that this Proactive was the solution to hormonal acne and to any kind of acne that you are dealing with. And I remember my cousin got on Proactive. This company received so many lawsuits because once people got off of the Proactive, their acne came back 10 times worse. The thing about a lot of medication, your body ends up being dependent. If you are depending on something that's external, that's synthetic, it's going to be much more difficult for your liver to process and eliminate these toxins. If you are a healthcare provider and you are seeing my video, it is essential that you also have your own critical thinking. It is essential for you to think about your ethics and your morals and your duty to humanity. We need to be talking about the liver and the lymphatic system for detox. When you see women come in with these hormonal issues, have they cleansed their blood? Are they eating anti-inflammatory food? Have they detoxed their liver? Have they tried herbs? Have they addressed the stress and the emotional imbalances in their lives? These are all things that I talk about and I've been talking about for years on my channel, but that need to be addressed before you give them a pill. I talked about the women that I have met that have shared with me that they have gotten hysterectomies and that they went right into menopause and that they were on birth control first. So this is what made me dive into this research. So women, especially my melanated women, do not let someone outside of you tell you that you need to get surgery and you cannot heal. Do not listen to that. Do not accept that as your reality. The mineral and nutrient depletion was extremely alarming to me, but this one, the fact that birth control impacts our natural rhythm, our womb harmony, means it is also interfering with our natural detox and feminine expression. Your periods, your ovulation, and your hormonal fluctuation is your natural detox as a woman. Have you ever eaten inflammatory foods right before your period, a week leading up to your period, and then that period was much more painful and heavier or more difficult? That shows you that the blood is helping to detox your body every single month. And again, these fluctuations in our hormones, the estrogen, the progesterone, follicular stimulating hormone, even the testosterone, that is a part of our natural expression and harmony as a woman. So there are times when we will be more intuitive, more creative, more energetic, more reflective and reserved. And when you feel balanced, these different seasons and fluctuations are actually a gift. You can get so much out of them. I talked about this in depth in a live video that I did. I saved the live so you can go and watch. I don't know if you know this, but when you are on birth control, you do not have periods. You get bleeding, and that is withdrawal bleeding, and it's caused by the drop in your hormone levels in the placebo week, not from the shedding of your uterine lining, which is a natural period. So our natural expression is disrupted. This has led to numbness in women, feeling numb, feeling fatigue, low libido, low creativity, low intuition. Their mood is completely imbalanced. They're experiencing anxiety and depression. Now, when you're on non-hormonal birth control, like the copper IUD, you do get periods, but 67% of women will get heavier and more painful periods. Starting to rain as I predicted. I'll be back. Let's talk about the risks and the side effects of the different types of birth control, hormonal and non-hormonal. The IUD can raise your risk of ectopic pregnancy, which is when a fertilized egg implants outside of the uterus, typically in the fallopian tubes. Spermicides can raise your risk of contracting HIV, and then the spermicide's effectiveness is decreased if you are on medication like yeast infection medication. And most birth controls raise your risk of blood clots and high blood pressure. For the implantable rod, headaches, migraines, irregular periods, weight gain, and sore breasts. For the copper IUD, which is non-hormonal, a lot of women report that it is completely awful to have it inserted or even removed. So the copper IUD is reported to increase the amount of cramping, the heaviness of your periods. A lot of women get missed periods and they are bleeding in between periods. Pelvic inflammatory disease and bacterial vaginosis are other side effects. For the hormonal IUD, there are irregular and missed periods or lighter periods. Ovarian cysts could be another side effect. Pelvic inflammatory disease as well. For the shot and the injection, bleeding between and missed periods, weight gain, mood changes, irregularities, headaches, and bone loss. For the combo oral contraceptive, the pill, headaches are reported, stomach issues, gut issues, irregular periods, mood imbalances, weight gain, high blood pressure, blood clots, stroke, and heart attack. For the oral pill, the mini, which is just the progestin, spotting and bleeding in between periods is reported, weight gain, headaches, nausea, sore breath. For the skin patch, there's skin irritation, stomach issues, irregular periods, mood imbalances, headaches, weight gain, blood pressure, sore breasts, blood clots, stroke, and heart attack. For the vaginal ring, there are headaches again, stomach issues, breast soreness, vaginal irritation, discharge, odor, irregular periods, blood pressure, blood clots, stroke, and heart attack. For the diaphragm, which is with the spermicide, there's irritation, allergic reactions, urinary tract infections, other vaginal infections, toxic shock, and an increased risk of HIV. For the sponge and the cervical cap, also with the spermicide, there's irritation, allergic reactions, odor, urinary tract infections, and an increased risk of contracting HIV. But there are reports of positive benefits, and you get to decide if the positive outweighs the negative. Let's get into some solutions, because you know that is what I love to talk about. The number one thing is also my favorite thing to talk about, which is nutrition. Now, I know from personal experience that nutrition and the foods that you eat is 60 to 70% of the battle. If you can get the foods you eat and control what you're consuming, this is going to drastically change your life, your symptoms, and how easeful you feel during your period and the rest of the other weeks of the month. So for the food, you need to know what is causing inflammation in the body, what is wreaking havoc on the liver, and what is adding toxins to the blood. This is essential. Now, I created the Womb Food Healing Guide to show you what foods are going to reduce and remove inflammation from the body, and then boost you with the necessary minerals that your reproductive system needs. The Womb Food Healing Guide is what I needed in 2017 when I was struggling, trying to figure out what I could eat. I felt like everything was being taken away from me, all of the things I loved to eat, everything. I just felt like I was so restricted and I didn't have any options and I couldn't enjoy food anymore. And for me, I love food, so that felt extremely depressing at the time, and it caused me to relapse and go off of my plant-based lifestyle. And now, all of these years later, I have traveled the world and I've experienced real indigenous healing foods, and so I've added them to this Womb Food Healing Guide. There is also a section for you to see what minerals and nutrients you are getting if you add the foods on the addition list into your routine. And there are also many other resources in the guide that will be supportive for you, so check it out. You can download the Womb Food Guide in the link in the description box. The next solution is to look at the different endocrine disruptors, which is your hormonal system, the disruptors that you are exposed to on a day-to-day basis. It's also in the products that we use, the household items that we use. Endocrine disruptors are also in our environment. If you would like a simple guide of the hormonal disruptors and estrogen-based foods, I have a free guide that you can download, also linked in the description box. The next solution is stress and cortisol levels. Now, in order to manage stress better in our day-to-day lives, we need to heal and regulate regulate our nervous system. So this comes with healing your emotions and working on your energy and working with the body itself physically in order to support the nerves. And above all else, it is essential that you educate yourself and stay informed. Ask questions like why and how, and do your best not to avoid the symptoms that you're experiencing and not to neglect your body. When we neglect our body now, it shows up for us. It literally knocks at the door later on in life. This is not to demonize being on birth control or not wanting to have unplanned children and whatever other reasons that women get on birth control. This is just to give another perspective and to show that there is direct correlation between being on birth control, your endocrine system being suppressed, with womb disorders, with hysterectomy, and with menopause. What has been normalized and fed to us since we were young girls is not normal. It is common, but it is not normal. My whole goal is to just give you information and for you to realize that there is an easeful life and that you can look forward to being a woman and to experiencing these different hormonal seasons that we get monthly. You do not have to numb yourself or suppress yourself just to find relief. What I want to be normalized is real, truthful knowledge and education from our different healthcare professionals, the people that we go to when we are in need and when we are at our lowest points, and for them not to take advantage of that just to make money and to keep us dependent. If you want more from me, you can subscribe to this channel, check out my womb wellness playlist. All of my services are also listed below. If you want to go deeper, you can check out my food guides and you can look into working with me one-on-one. I am so grateful for all of your support and your love. And if you have your own experience, please let me know down in the comment section. Let's keep the conversation going and let's see what we can do about this. This is just about knowledge and about taking back control over your life. I love y'all. I'll see y'all in the next one.